Piers Morgan launched into a furious tirade at Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick on Good Morning Britain as he questioned whether Boris Johnson should resign as Prime Minister after a series of cataclysmic failures over the handling of coronavirus. Piers Morgan clashed with Robert Jenrick on Good Morning Britain as the controversial host and Susanna Reid quizzed the Housing Secretary on the failings of the government during the coronavirus pandemic. In light of the UK reaching a coronavirus death toll of 100,000, Morgan demanded Boris Johnson step down as Prime Minister. Morgan began, "You said mass gatherings were fine and so you sent 250,000 happily off to the Chilentham races and let people come in from Madrid to spend 2 days on the lash in Liverpool. We know with PPE we didn't have enough to protect our health and care workers. We know we pursued a policy of herd immunity which was completely wrong and completely given the last pandemic, which was the SARS pandemic, which is why the Asian countries were so much better at handling this than we were. With the circuit breaker that was advised by SAGE from September, you dividend delayed and didn't take the action early enough. We know that through Christmas it was obviously ridiculous to give everybody a day off because the virus didn't get the memo. We know that eventually we locked down in January way too late given this variant exploded and you knew about the rate of transmission in mid-December." Morgan continued, "We could have this death toll doubling in 3 months' time, so the mistakes that you've made are on a far greater scale than the ones that you are citing. They have been a series of cataclysmic government failures, and my question, after watching the Prime Minister yesterday, he's sorry about people dying. We're all sorry, but what I want to know, what he's sorry for the decisions he's done. Does the Prime Minister regret anything that he's done? I'm sure with the benefit of hindsight there would be things that he might have done differently," Jenrick replied. Morgan asked Jenrick, "Where is the PM and the Health Secretary? It's their job to defend this, not the guy in charge of housing." Jenrick reiterated Johnson's public address on Tuesday and said, "He expressed his deepest condolences." Morgan exclaimed, "The NHS didn't get run over in the first wave of this because you sent thousands of elderly people without COVID tests back into care homes where 20,000 or more died of them than died COVID-19. You didn't save the NHS. You parked the problems out of the NHS and threw it into care homes. They have been left and laid bare to this virus and no one will admit to the big errors which have caused huge death numbers." The presenter continued, "You're the guy they have sent out today to try and defend the indefensible. Surely looking back at yourselves thinking we've made a disaster of this, and if that is the case, who is accountable?" 2/3 of our viewers say the Prime Minister, who admitted yesterday he took full responsibility. If that's the case and we have the worst death toll in Europe and the 5th worst in the world and the current worst death rate in the world, why is he not resigning? Morgan asked, "You asked me a question, did we get everything right? I think we certainly didn't get everything right," Jenrick replied. "I don't think it's easy at this current time to make an analysis. I think there will be a time where we can reflect and learn lessons." Morgan continued, "Who is accountable? Because so far not a single member of this cabinet has been fired for incompetence, and yet department after department you could list a ton of failures for all of them. We just carry on relying on the same people. I have to give you credit. You come on here and you face the music. You put up a commendable job defending the often indefensible. But some of your colleagues are useless, and I take no pleasure in saying that. They come on here and expose themselves as mediocre people running huge departments in a pandemic. We need better people, and people who aren't good enough to step aside and to do the right thing for their country. Look, we're all working under immense strain, but that's no excuse. We all have to make the best decisions we can with the information that's available to us," the Housing Secretary answered. "As I've tried to say repeatedly, there will be things that with the benefit of hindsight that we should and could have done differently. There are also things we have done well as a country and which we should be proud of. I don't mean the government itself, I mean everyone should be proud of.